What's up, everybody? 2026 Best Ball is here. Contests have dropped on Underdog. We are already thinking about 2026. I am so excited to be drafting these teams. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
You're watching Fantasy Now Plus.
Alrighty. Welcome in, folks. I know the NFL playoffs are going on right now. Totally am amped for that. It's been a good game so far, but I just had to go live because Underdog has dropped the 2026 Best Ball contests. We've got the big board, the little board, and the war room currently sitting in the lobby, and we're going to draft a few of them. So, before we jump into any contests, I like to look at the payout structure. I like to look at what might be worth more bang for my buck. So, let's take a look at the flagship pre-draft best ball contest for Underdog, the big board. It is a $10 entry, 150 max entries. There will be 223,000 plus entrants into this tournament if it fills, but $2 million in prizes. Advancement structure, you've got 3 out of your initial 12-man draft, which is pretty nice. You know, we have very little information right now, so being able to sneak a third team in there when it's normally 2 teams definitely feels good. And then 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 558 person final. 12 teams and 20 rounds. So normal best ball contests on Underdog are 18 rounds, but again, for pre-draft, they give you a couple extra rounds, a couple extra shots to take, which is very nice. It also helps kind of decide your roster construction a little bit more, but we will definitely get into that as we go along. First place gets $200,000. Second place gets half of that at $100,000. And then 10th place gets 10% of first at $20,000. So pretty standard payout structure. It's a 558 person final, so you get $500 just for making the final guaranteed. And of course, that payout will go up as you finish higher. So that's pretty much it. Everything else is very standard on Underdog. Big board looks great. Let's check out the little board. This one's very interesting to me. So $3 entry, only 20 entry max. So it would only take $60 to max enter this contest. But you still get $100K to first place, which is half of what the big board costs. 189,000 entrants, so still plenty of people, still plenty of money. You can see there's $500,000 in prizes, but $100K goes to first. So this is incredibly top heavy. 2 out of 12 advance, and then again, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10. Only a 315 person final. As you can see, 100,000 to first, 50,000 to second, 25,000 to third, and then it goes down from there. Just making the final, you get $250. So you can more or less 4x your money if you max and get one team into the final. So that is nice. Definitely something to think about. Of course, if you advance, you at least get your entry fee back. Again, pretty standard besides that. And then last contest open right now is the War Room. This is a $25 entry, 4 entry max. So you get 4 shots, $100 buy-in, only 4,500 total entrants into this. So it's kind of, if you're on a smaller budget, if you're, kind of in a starter pack, if you haven't drafted a ton of best ball before, but you feel like entering some money in, I think this is the ideal contest for you. $100 is certainly not nothing, but it's also, if you're playing best ball, you're okay with spending this money, you're okay with possibly getting nothing back from this money. If you're not, you shouldn't be playing this. That's all I'll say about that. But $100, only 4,500 total people. Look at this advancement structure. You get 2 out of 12, 2 out of 10, 2 out of 10, and there's only 30 people in the final. If you look at it, you get at least $100. So if you make the final and you max, you get your entry fee back. If you get first place, you get $20,000. Like even sixth place, like $5,000 is nothing to sneeze at. That is plenty of money. That is a huge multiplier on your investment. So if you're just getting started on Underdog, if you're just getting started in the best ball realm, you're not sure that you want to draft 20 teams right now with very little info, you certainly don't feel like you can draft 150 in the big board, I would recommend the War Room. 4 entries, shoot your shot, take your stands on a few players or on a few teams, and see what happens. And it could really pay off for you. So that is where we're at in Underdog right now. Those are the 3 contests. And so I think without further ado, we should honestly just hop in and draft. I'm going to be drafting the big board, $10 entry. As we said, $200,000 to first. It's 20 seconds per pick. Obviously, we're not going to do a slow draft on a stream. So 20 seconds per pick. It goes by pretty quickly. I think drafts usually take about 25 to 40 minutes, just depending on the room you're in and everything like that. So we are going to hop in here. Looks like we've got a pretty decent, we have waiting for 5 folks to fill. Now, I have uploaded my own rankings and edited some things here in Underdog, so you'll see that this is currently by my ranking. I will sort it by ADP just to show what the current expected landscape of drafting is for this. So, pretty standard. If you missed it, Brian and I put out a video earlier today talking about this ADP when it was released a few days ago, talking about where we thought the misses were, where we thought players were too expensive or too cheap, or just about right. So we've got the 106 here. Don't recognize anyone else in here really, just off of the name. So don't have any other streamers in here that I can tell. So this will be an interesting room. At the 106, I personally am hoping that either JSN or Gibbs falls. I think there's a relatively significant tier of the top 5, but if I have to, I will take CeeDee Lamb. I'm not going to be super upset about it. I think the overreaction to George Pickens' season last year is, well, that an overreaction. I think, CeeDee Lamb pretty much never stopped earning targets in this offense. He was the focal point of the offense for every single game that he was healthy. He simply had some bad touchdown luck and had some bad receiving luck. So, I think this offense is going to stay pretty similar. There's really only ways for it to get better for Lamb. If Pickens decides he doesn't want to play on a franchise tag, or if he doesn't get brought back for some weird reason, you'd feel pretty comfortable about CeeDee Lamb once again just being the alpha, not really having too much target competition, and Dak feeding him. And if Pickens is around, I think that CeeDee, you got Josh Allen going 3rd overall. So I am going to get one of my top 5, which is nice. That's certainly a choice, but, you know, who's to say anything is wrong? We're a couple hours into this contest being open. The season of 2025 is still technically going on. So, and James Cook went 5. Very interesting. Well, I'm going to take Jamar Chase at 3 then and feel perfectly fine about that. Hopefully these folks don't think that this is like a playoff best ball draft, but even still, the Bills are eliminated, so I don't know why they would be drafting Bills anyways. That's real weird. On we go. Some folks have their stands, some folks have their players that they love, and that's okay. Who's to say that they are wrong and I am right? Certainly not what I would do, but I don't blame them. Just looking at the board so far, Bijan 1, Gibbs 2, Josh Allen 3, Puka 4, James Cook 5. I took Jamar Chase at 6. JSN goes 1-7, CeeDee Lamb 8, Christian McCaffrey at 9, Jonathan Taylor at 10. I need to zoom out just a bit. There we go. Devon Achane at 11. The turn, they go Amon-Ra St. Brown and Trey McBride. And then Justin Jefferson at 11. Let's have a conversation about Justin Jefferson. If you watch the video, you know I'm very low on him. I had him ranked 25th overall in my current rankings. I'm just not interested, to be honest. Minnesota, I just don't see how they really improve their quarterback situation that well. And I will happily take Drake London here at 19. He is my 12th ranked player. So in the way that I have things ranked, I got 2 first-round players in my first 2 rounds. So that feels great. But yeah, I just don't see it with Jefferson. It's been 3 to 4 years since he's really, truly broken fantasy football. Since that time, he's been good, not great. He is not scoring touchdowns quite the way that you would like for him to do. And I just don't think J.J. McCarthy can support him in the way that we need him to be supported. And, taking him in the second round is a very strong stance. I think this person definitely thinks this is like playoff best ball, taking Kenneth Walker in the second. I wish that they would understand and pay attention to how many players are in the room for them, but well, they took a Bengal, so maybe they figured it out now, but either way, very, very bizarre start here for sure. Let's see what falls back to us at pick 30 here in the third round. By my rank, it would be Rashee Rice. I do really like Bucky as well, though. Since I got 2 good values on wide receiver, I'm interested in... Do I take Rice? Just have 3 really strong receivers. Yeah, let's do it. I like Bucky. There's a chance Bucky falls back. People might have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth from him. If not, no big deal. So we've started out all orange, full 0 RB so far. Jamar Chase, Drake London, Rashee Rice. Yes, Rashee Rice is back in the news, is back in legal trouble. I totally get it, but we also don't really know what's going to happen with that yet. There's very little info on it. We have no idea how bad of legal trouble it is. We have no idea if suspension is looming, any of that stuff. We do know that Patrick Mahomes destroyed his knee, and there is a chance that he is not really available for the start of the season. You obviously don't love that, but all of the money is won in these contests at the end of the season in weeks 15, 16, and 17. So if Rashee Rice has a slow start to the season, That's fine. We're hoping Chase, London do not. They come out guns a-blazing, and they help us get to where we need to go. Looks like my draft kind of froze a little bit. Okay, there goes Bucky. That's fine. Him falling back was very unlikely based on his ranking. That is okay. Drake May here goes at 35. Love Drake May as a player. I think he's incredibly talented. I think he's had an excellent sophomore season. I'm not taking him that high. I had him ranked much lower than that. I think somewhere in the 50s or 60s, if I remember correctly. So, I think it's fine. ADP's kind of just set up this way. Man, really would have loved trivia on there. Do I go Garrett Wilson? It's a lot of quarterback uncertainty on these teams. I'm going to go Zay Flowers and see if perhaps Lamar comes back to me in the 5th. It would be a lovely pair to stack up if I can get it, but we shall see how this plays out. So I am going true 0 RB in this room, which doesn't feel fantastic this early in the season, but is certainly not impossible to pull off. We will see how things go. If I miss out on Lamar in the 5th, I'm not too pressed about it. There are some good options that I think are mispriced. All right. So the Josh Allen drafter also takes Lamar Jackson. That's certainly an option, but Kyle Pitts in the 4th is one of the wildest ADPs I have seen. It came loaded that way, so I'm not even going to blame it on the person who drafted him, but very, very bizarre ranking. He is not someone that's on my board at all this early. It's way more in like the 8th, 9th, 10th round for Kyle Pitts. So no thank you there. The one hole goes double rookie wide receiver, which I don't hate. I was really hoping Scattaboo made it back to me. That's a bummer. But Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, both are going to be first round NFL rookie picks. I think those are solid selections for sure. And let's see how this goes. Let's see what pick 53 does here. I like RJ Harvey. I don't think they're going to replace him. So I'm more than happy to take him here as my first running back. I think they will bring someone in, whether it's bringing back J.K. Dobbins, whether it's drafting someone, whether it's signing a free agent, but I don't think they're going to just move on from Harvey. They invested a second round pick. He's looked fine, not great, not terrible, kind of just somewhere in the middle with him. And, that's totally fine. That's absolutely someone that I would want on this team in the 5th round as my first running back. He has explosive ability. He's got speed. That's what I'm looking for. And he's not going to just be removed from a job. So he's certainly not in the upper echelon of running backs, but I think he's a totally fine selection there. Totally good to pick in the 5th. As a reminder, folks, if you have not joined Underdog yet and you are wanting to, you can do so with our promo code FN Plus. That is FNPLUS. When you play $5, you will get $75 in bonus funds. You can use that on drafts. You can use that on pick'ems. So if you haven't signed up already, please do so using promo code FN Plus. If you are in these streets already, welcome to draft season. I am going to be streaming quite a lot. I love drafting best ball. I love talking about best ball. It basically is just a way to talk about the NFL season all year round without it being Dynasty. As much as I love Dynasty as well, I also really love the idea of just focusing on the actual players, the actual fit, focusing on how the season is going to play out first. And that will really help to, form your opinions on the season, give you a good idea of what you're looking for, what you're aiming for. I'm going to take Jaden Daniels here. I think he's going way too low. Yes, he got injured. Yes, he could get injured again. I do not draft predicting injury for the most part because injury is impossible to predict for the most part. So Washington just had an abysmal season all around. Totally understand that, but I'm not really worried about it. Take a quick look at the board here. Anything interesting? Yeah, Caleb Williams in the 5th. Again, not for me. He's ranked very high right now. This person has 3 quarterbacks already, so I guess so. Hopefully we don't get this draft thrown out because that would be annoying. I like Tyler Warren here. I think that's a good selection. I like Mekhi Lemon a lot. I was looking at him with this pick, even if Daniels had fallen. I really like this draft from the one hole. Have Bijan, Nico, Derrick Henry, 2 exciting rookies in Tate and Tyson, Harold Fannin, and then Jalen Waddle. I think Waddle is, again, pretty weird ADP. I would have, again, taken him in the 6th. If Jaden Daniels had not been there, I am hoping that this person does not randomly take Joe Burrow for no reason. They are, of course, entitled to him, but would be very weird. So I'll be taking Joe Burrow to stack with Jamar Chase. Feel very good about having Daniels and Burrow in the big board with 20 rounds. Pretty universally, you want to go at least 3 quarterbacks and at least 3 tight ends, if not more. Mainly, we don't know bye weeks. We don't know matchups. And, there's a lot of good value to be had at quarterback and tight end, especially. So I think I'll be going a lot of teams with like these elite quarterbacks that I think are mispriced. I think Jaden Daniels is mispriced. I think Joe Burrow is an appropriate price. I mostly am taking him because I have Jamar Chase and because I have him in a semi-weird spot. So yeah, definitely I think Joe Burrow is fine in the 7th. Would have been happy to push him 8, 9 as well, but drafters are being kind of weird in this draft. So I wanted to lock up the stack while I had it, make sure that I feel good about those 2. So running back and tight end are definitely the quote unquote weaknesses of this team so far. Only have 1 running back in RJ Harvey. We will definitely have to make up some of that ground. But I feel good about where we're at in total. I would love if Sam Laporta got to me here. I know that he has the injury. He might start the season injured or slower, but I just think that, with their new coaching staff, with Drew Petzig at offensive coordinator, we saw what he did with Trey McBride. Obviously, Laporta is not going to out-target Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he could still very easily become the primary number 2 option. Jameson Williams hasn't shown enough, really, in my opinion, to have that locked up by any stretch. I think Laporta is just as good when healthy, and happy to take him here as my first tight end in the 8th round, especially considering, last year with very little changing as far as situation outside of a different offensive coordinator again, that he was going, I want to say in the 4th, maybe the 3rd round at times even. So love the discount. Yes, he has the injury discount to start, but he should be close to healthy or fully healthy by the time the season rolls around. So happy to grab lots of value with Sam Laporta here. Anything else interesting? The Marvin Harrison versus Michael Wilson debate will certainly be interesting. Harrison went pretty early for his ADP, and Michael Wilson went pretty late for his ADP in this draft. Technically, ADP has them flipped right now. I don't know if that's right or wrong, even as a Cardinals fan. I think a lot of it is still up in the air and is still variable. So I think both of their prices are okay. Not great, but stomachable. Calvin Ridley at 99. Woof. No, thank you. But yeah, I don't know what to do with the Cardinals. I might just take them when they fall to me at ADP and just be okay with it. For the most part, we're certainly in a run of have no interest in Matthew Stafford, especially at this price. That's way too expensive in my opinion. I think Juwan Jennings is way too low, and I think Jordan Addison is way too low, and I think Jaden Reed is way too low. So I'm going to play the ADP game here, take Jaden Reed, see if honestly any of these top 3 receivers fall back to me. Casey Concepcion, as you'll notice, currently does not have an ADP. He's also not fully impossible to be a first-round NFL draft pick. So, if you're in this room, don't snipe me. If you're not in this room, keep that in mind if you're drafting these. He is a huge value. He is going to score you a lot of points, most likely, especially if he's actually a first-round pick to one of these better teams in the back end. He could be a second-round pick, but that's certainly not preventative of him still scoring a lot of points. Just think about Ladd McConkey. I like Concepcion as a prospect. I think he's, undersized, but has speed, has agility, has good route running, good run after catch ability. We will see how that translates at the NFL level, but a lot of scouts, a lot of NFL guys are definitely of the opinion that he can be good and will be good. So we'll see how that goes. If given the option, I might pivot to a running back, honestly. I like all these receivers, but Emmett Johnson, I think he's going to gain a lot of steam in the draft process. A lot of folks really like this guy. I would like to get, a few rookies on this team. That's why we're drafting the big board. It's rookie season. It's take your stand on your guys season. So love going Emmett Johnson there as my RB2. I think there are some guys late that I can draft still that will be able to get me points early and possibly late as well. Emmett Johnson could easily become a starter depending on what team drafts him and the draft capital and all that good stuff. But I think he's talented, and usually talent wins out over everything else in this league. So like betting on the talent. If you were uncertain about the 2026 draft class, let me be the first to tell you it's pretty thin. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty, I wouldn't say weak. There's certainly players that have value in the real life NFL that could use that playing time to get fantasy points. There are some legitimately great players near the top. You'll notice Jeremiah Love went in the second round here at 23 overall. He's going to be a first-round NFL pick. There's several wide receivers that should be first-round NFL picks. So I get Jennings and Concepcion back. I'm going to take Jennings again. ADP, I'll play chicken on Concepcion. If I miss out on him, it is not the end of the world. He is simply someone that I want to point out as being a interesting value because he doesn't have an ADP. If you have folks in your room that aren't looking for him specifically, aren't necessarily paying a ton of attention, they won't be drafting him. So if we're looking at my ranks here based on ADP, you can see a lot of running backs coming up soon, a lot of guys in question marks as far as where they're going to land, what their role is going to be. But the reality is that they will have a role. And that's why I have them ranked so highly. I think James Conner in the 160s is kind of nuts, personally. If we're looking at ADP, we've got a rookie dropping Elijah Surratt. I think this is actually right around where I would take him, right around 130. He has not gone yet. A lot of these receivers, I think, are kind of falling, and rightfully so. There's just a lot of question marks when you get to wide receiver down here. And there's a lot of question marks with running back as well, but it's not necessarily like, are they bad? They're not bad. There's just some guys that are older. There's some guys that are coming off injury. There's some guys with team questions, but they're going to get touches. They're going to get playing time, almost certainly. And so for that reason, even though I do think going RB heavy early on is more optimal, I don't think it's impossible to build a good 0 RB team here, especially if you can hit on, if Emmett Johnson gets a starting role almost right away, if there are some later guys that I can grab that give me the value. I do think I will still take Concepcion here if he's available. As you can see, it is almost fully running back and quarterback after this point. Love Tyler Shuck there. I think he's very undervalued. But I am going to go Concepcion, give myself a rookie wide receiver. So we've got Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow at quarterback. Running back, so far we only have RJ Harvey and Emmett Johnson. Wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase, Drake London, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Juwan Jennings, Casey Concepcion. And at tight end, we have Sam Laporta. So we have Chase stacked up with Burrow. Could look at like a Deebo Samuel a little bit later with Jaden Daniels if we want, or we can not really worry about it because Daniels, as a Konami code quarterback, does not have to be stacked. But that's how we're looking so far. You can see some of these wide receiver names by ADP. We've got another rookie, Jacoby Lane. Brandon Ayuk is a very interesting case, trying to figure out, where's he going to go? How good is he still after so much time? Are we just kind of forgetting it? Is he actually that good? All of that good stuff. Jalen McMillan is in a crowded room, but has produced in 2 consecutive seasons despite being in a crowded room. Rashid Shaheed, is he still a Seahawk? If he is, does he have a better season with an offseason under his belt? Does he go somewhere else? Lots of interesting discussions to be had there. Lots of running backs that I like here. Definitely eyeing James Conner. I don't think the Cardinals, they could cut him, but even if they do cut him, I don't really see that good of a reason to fade him. I'm pretty sure he's going to get work somewhere, even if he is cut. And he's been good as long as he's been playing. So definitely love the price on James Conner. You could see Kamara was also in a similar position. I really liked him. Tyreek Hill, I think if he had fallen to me in the 14th, he would have been my last wide receiver. I would have just been done at the position with 8 and had kind of just moved on. As much as I love having 3 quarterbacks as well, I don't feel horrific if I don't get a third quarterback. I don't think there's very many startable, draftable quarterbacks left. Basically, right around Michael Penix is the last guy I feel comfortable drafting. And a lot of these guys are fine, but not anything like truly special in my mind. I do like Kyler. I don't know if I would spring for him in this position. We'll see. I think a lot of folks are out on Kyler as well, so I'm kind of curious to see if he just keeps falling in drafts. Definitely hoping for J.K. Dobbins here. We will see if he gets to me. It's not the sexiest running back room in the world, but there is a lot of production. Oof, he goes one pick before. That is rough. Is there anyone in ADP that's interesting? Not overly. Tight end, there's some guys later. If I took Kyler, kind of ran out of time there, but he's a good value as a third QB. I think he can provide you a lot of floor, especially if he starts to run a bit more. We'll see how often he's running, but that was a gross spot in rankings. Pretty much everyone was a wide receiver at the top of my rankings. I really don't need wide receiver. I'm only looking to add maybe one more, maybe zero more. We'll see. I'm definitely done at quarterback. Don't need those anymore. Running back, I think there's still plenty of usable folks here. There's a lot of not necessarily bad ADPs, but a lot of weird ADPs that I'm certainly happy to take advantage of and take a shot on. Nicholas Singleton is someone I was considering reaching for there, but he definitely has like a boom or bust profile for me. He has the pedigree as a highly recruited high school athlete. He's got the athleticism for sure. I think his ADP is going to rise a lot after the combine. He's probably going to test like a freak, but I don't think he's that good of an actual running back, to be honest. I think he has a lot of holes in his game. He has a lot of problems that I see on tape. So I don't hate Singletary here. I mean, I have him ranked at 151, and if I get him, I would be drafting him at 174, which feels totally fine to me. I also like Trey Benson a lot. I think I can wait on him. I like Rashad White. He is going to be a free agent. He's either back in Tampa and Sean Tucker is gone, or Sean Tucker goes back to Tampa and White goes somewhere else, or they both go somewhere else and it's all Bucky, which is certainly something to consider. It's not guaranteed, but who's popping in ADP? It's all tight ends right now, which I do need some as well, but there are guys that I like a lot. I am going to take Singleton here. I know, another rookie. Shocker, but got to take your shots on zero RB. You obviously shouldn't go all rookies, just hope to absolutely get all the guys that end up winning jobs, but you do for sure want some running backs that are going to give you upside while also not fully sacrificing early season playing time. We shall see how things go. I'm definitely doing at least 3 tight ends. Sam Laporta might not be healthy to start the season. And I think I'm definitely in the camp of you should take at least 3 tight ends on basically every build. Honestly, it's simply that, they can still hit your flex. They can still give you points when you need it the most. The week that Kyle Pitts went for 40, it's not like there were other tight ends that didn't go for 20 plus. You still wanted Trey McBride that week as well. If you had both of them, then they both would have hit your lineup and you would have advanced and gotten a lot of money, most likely. So I don't think you should, even if you draft Trey McBride, even if you draft Brock Bowers, I don't think 2 tight ends is like unforgivable, but I do think I would much prefer to go 2 quarterbacks versus 2 tight ends if I am only going to draft 2 of what we call the onesie position, meaning you can only start 1. But of course, tight end, that's not necessarily true. You can start them in the flex and at the tight end position. So calling them the onesie position is a little unfair. Tight end is getting a little wiped out, but that's okay. I think there's plenty of guys that can have jobs that I would be happy taking. I do want to grab Trey Benson here, even if somehow this is still the Cardinals' running back room. Trey Benson should not be ranked as the last pick in the draft. He is going far too low, so I will be definitely hopping on that. Even though most of my highest ranked players now are wide receivers, I'm still not really looking at wide receiver at this point. I'm looking at running back and tight end mostly. You'll notice like Travis Kelce's down here, David Njoku. He's probably going to get a job somewhere, or he's just going to go back to Cleveland and be annoying, but will get work. Kelsey's not retiring as far as I'm aware, so if that's the case, I think he's draftable. I don't really think he's a second-round pick by any stretch of the imagination, so we'll see how that goes, but I would not mind Travis Kelce here in what will be the 17th round. I think that's totally fine. I don't really want to take any more rookie running backs if I can help it. Want to get, I think, at least 2 more guys that are going to get work. Travis Kelce goes. That's fine. There are still plenty of tight ends. I wouldn't be opposed to a rookie tight end, but I don't want to have only a rookie tight end. I definitely want to be, let's see here. Yeah. A lot of rookies, folks are not at all interested in rookies at this point, which I don't necessarily blame them. There's definitely a few drafters in here that you can tell are sharp, can tell are using their own rankings. I think Devin Neal is a great pick. He's someone that I would have considered with my next selection. Ty Simpson goes. I think Kate Otten is someone that I definitely want, or Pat Fryermuth, or both. I would not hate both, to be honest. Just give me points. Johnny Smith is probably gone. In Pittsburgh, Darnell Washington had a major injury, might start on the pup. He was really only relevant because Arthur Smith is Arthur Smith anyways, and Arthur Smith is mercifully gone. And Kate Otten is a free agent. Will he not come back to Tampa? That'd be pretty crazy if he didn't. I think he will. I think I would actually prefer Fryermuth in this situation. I think he just has a better floor for points scoring, to be honest. Even though I have him ranked after the fact. But I guess we'll see. I think my draft is being a little glitchy here. There we go. Is that what I want to do? It's also Evan Ingram down the board, Chigakonkwo. I think I'm going to go Fryermuth here. I think we know he's solid, sometimes good even when he faces the Bengals last year. But, I do think that it's totally okay to play for floor in these drafts. I think something that I really struggled with last year was focusing entirely on ceiling, and that hurt. It really did. It did not go well. So I definitely want to identify players that have more of a floor for sure. Running back is getting absolutely rinsed here, which is unfun. Definitely lost a few guys that I was hoping would fall. Yeah, I have no interest in Emmanuel Wilson. Well, we'll see how that goes. Again, Running back and tight end, there's still quite a few tight ends that I don't hate, so I think I'm just going to wait on tight end and focus more on trying to get a few more live bodies at running back. Najee Harris is interesting. He's obviously kind of scary because of the Achilles injury. I don't think he's a terrible pick. I don't think he's a great pick. I think he does get a job somewhere, and whether that's right or not is not really up for discussion, to be honest. Like, I don't think he's that fantastic of a running back, but I do think that he will sign somewhere. I am going to take Braylon Allen. I think there's a decent chance that Brees Hall is not a Jet. And even if he is a Jet, we saw that they were very much interested in using Braylon Allen quite a lot. But if Brees Hall is not a Jet, I think Braylon Allen has a outside shot to be the starter, or at the very worst, kind of keep a goal line usage that he had. A couple other running backs that are interesting for me: Jaden Blue, Brashard Smith, Ray Davis. Garendo's interesting, though I do somewhat worry that the 49ers bring back Brian Robinson for some reason, which would be annoying, but that's neither here nor there. It's definitely, we got 2 rounds left, I believe. Let's look at the board. Yeah, 2 rounds left. Done at quarterback. I think I'm probably just going to go running back tight end here. Finish with a 3-7-7-3. I think my wide receiver group is incredibly strong, has a lot of front and back loaded production in it. Just a lot of target earning throughout. You just have to hope that Chase is the guy again, that Drake London can do what he needs to do, regardless of who the quarterback is, that Rashee Rice doesn't get suspended. I think Zay Flowers is a really sneaky pick. Baltimore will have a new offense, new coach. I'll be interested to see how they utilize Zay Flowers in that scenario. I like Jaden Reed as a bounce back, especially if Romeo Doubs leaves in free agency. I think Juwan Jennings, whether he's a 49er or somewhere else, has proven that he can earn targets to some extent. So definitely like that. And I think Casey Concepcion, pick 139, offers a lot of upside. Late at running back, do I want this to be Najee? I think I want this to be Ray Davis. Yeah, I'm going to go Ray Davis. He wasn't used as much previously, but that's fine. If my screen will stop freezing, there we go. Now the question is, do I take an 8th running back or do I take a 3rd tight end? I'm pretty confident I'm taking a 3rd tight end. I still think Njoku is good. I think Ingram will have work. I think Chig is going to go somewhere. And if he goes somewhere, I think Gunnar Helm gets the work. I think Mason Taylor is fine, but not great. I obviously like Max Clare, but I have a lot of, 3 rookies is not a lot, but I have a decent chunk of rookies. Max Clare could be good, or he could do nothing for almost the full season. And paired with someone like Laporta, who might miss time with the injury, trying to avoid taking bad scores, taking zeros. So something I'm definitely working on more this season personally. So probably am going to not worry about Max Clare in this particular team. So then the question is, do we like Njoku? Do we like Ingram? Chig? I don't really like Mason Taylor, to be honest. I have him ranked because he's 2nd rounder and could get better, but I don't think he's guaranteed to get better. I do like Blue and Brashard Smith a bit as well. Running back feels a little sketchy. Feel better if James Conner is not a Cardinal but still a starter somewhere. Obviously feel better if Emmett Johnson and or Nicholas Singleton are in spots that they can win the job or compete for the job or already have the job. Adding someone like Smith, who I think was just misused by Matt Nagy, or Jaden Blue, who flashed in week 18. I don't know how much Dallas will care about that. I'm going to go Brashard Smith, actually. I will go to tight end, and we'll just make the bet that Sam Laporta is ready for week 1, and that between him and Freiermuth, they can score enough points in the receiving spot. But that's the final team for me. At quarterback, you feel excellent. Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, regardless where he's going, will start somewhere. So you've got 3 good quarterbacks that can score a lot of points for you. We went 0 RB, pretty much even like a late hero RB. Only 1 running back picked in the top 100, which didn't feel great, but that is definitely how running back looks this year. So keep that in mind, folks. We've got RJ Harvey, rookie Emmett Johnson, James Conner, rookie Nicholas Singleton, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, Ray Davis, and Brashard Smith for 8 running backs total. Wide receiver, you've got Jamar Chase, Drake London, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Jawan Jennings, and Casey Concepcion. At tight end, to round it out, we only went with 2 this time, Sam Laporta and Pat Freiermuth. And that is the first big board done. Is there anything interesting to look at on this board? 3-3-10-4 is certainly a choice, especially when your 3 is Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams, and Tyrone Tracy. I don't think it will get thrown out necessarily. He didn't draft people that are been retired for 7 years or anything like that, but a very bizarre draft from the 3 hole. I really like what the 1 hole did. You've got some upside with Bijan, Nico, Derrick Henry, the upside rookies of Tate and Tyson, Fannin, Waddle at value, Tootin and Corum as some nice handcuff / could get starter work type players. You've got Baker to go with Malik Willis and Daniel Jones as a good trio. Again, you've got Romeo Doubs, Chris Bell. Chris Bell will be someone that I might not be very high on simply because he's coming off of a catastrophic knee injury, and he's an athletic freak and he has good tape, but I just don't know how much he's going to play this year. This year being 2026. So he's interesting, but he could just be a 0 for a large majority. He took Tank Bigsby. He took Devin Neal. Really like Devin Neal there. I think there's a chance the Saints move on from Kamara or move Kamara finally to just a pass catching role and have Neal be the actual ball carrier. Chris Purcell is another rookie that I like. He doesn't have an ADP. He fell all the way to 18 here. I think it's a good pickup. Same with Trey Harris. He's a 2nd-round pick on an offense that we feel good about with Mike McDaniel coming in. And then you've got Gunnar Helm as well. So really like what the 1 hole did there. Think he was a sharp drafter for sure. And that is it for the first draft of 2026, folks. We are going to fire up a couple more. Do not worry whatsoever. I am here for as many drafts as we can do. So we're going to fire up another big board, $10 entry. Confirm. And waiting on 9 more people. If you're watching along, want to join in the draft, enter the big board now. You're most likely going to be placed in this room. We could draft together. you could possibly snipe me. I won't get mad. I'll just be disappointed. If you have any questions, folks, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you're new to Underdog, want to sign up and have not signed up yet, use the promo code FN Plus. That's FNPLUS. When you play $5, you will get $75 in bonus funds. You can use on these drafts, you can use on pick'ems, all that good stuff. Definitely join Underdog if you have not already. As you can see, it starts early. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of critical thinking about how you want to build a team, how you want to build a draft, and thinking about, especially what I find helpful is just thinking about all the scenarios that could play out. We don't know anything about the 2026 season yet outside of we know who's declared for the draft, and that's literally it. And we know like not even half of the coaching vacancies yet. So everything is still wildly up in the air. Could be something you want to avoid, could be something that you really want to buy into as well. So I personally love this time of the season. I love launch day of the big contest on Underdog. I love taking advantage of some of the ADP discrepancies that I think are wrong. So as we wait for this to fill, it has filled. Excellent. So I am back at the 105. I am in the draft with the guy that was in the one hole last time, who was a sharp drafter. So that is something to keep in mind, is I'm not going to be able to get much value past the turn for the most part. So definitely may have to reach a little, or may have to be okay with not getting all of the fantastic values this time around, and that's okay. From the 5 hole, I know I'm going to get one of my top 5 guys again, though, so that feels good. Did not have to take CeeDee Lamb in the first one, will not have to again. I touched on it earlier. I have Justin Jefferson ranked 25th, the first pick of the 3rd round. His ADP is 15. I just don't think that's correct. I don't want to draft him in the second. If I don't have any of him drafted in the second, then I'm probably just going to accept that and kind of fix that later in the season. Okay, we're going to go Jackson Smith and Jigba, which I feel totally fine about. Regardless of value that comes back, I do just want to focus more on the running backs in this draft. Last draft, definitely kind of just let the room come to me as it was, saw who fell, saw how things played out. Had a few weird picks to start, but nothing too crazy, really. But I think going not necessarily robust RB, but at least having like hero or anchor or anything of that variety makes sense early in the season. All the running backs going this early are not losing their jobs. They are not going to necessarily be replaced or drop too much in ADP. They're all going to be around here. Wide receivers, a lot more of the question marks when it comes to who's going to have value, what does their quarterback situations look like. With Rashee Rice, is he going to be suspended? Is George Pickens going to be a Cowboy? Is CJ Stroud going to start for the Texans after that terrible playoffs? Trey McBride is falling quite a long ways, as is Brock Bowers. They're going to be interesting, and all the running backs are just flying off the board. I am going to take Jeremiah Love. I want to get a good amount of him at his price. I think he probably rises. He's a shoe-in to be a first-round pick. The question is how high. And to be honest, I think it's rightfully so. I think he is a very good prospect and a very good player. I'm excited to see where he lands. My initial guess is the Kansas City Chiefs, who pick at 9, I believe. I think they saw Patrick Mahomes lose his knee, and they don't want to go through that again. And they're going to not trot out Kareem Hunt and not trot out Isaiah Pacheco and all of these guys that are just not that good. And they're going to actually like try and field a competent running game, is what I would guess. So I don't see any better way to do that than to draft the best running back in the draft class by a lot. But mind you, I think Jeremiah Love is very clearly the best running back in the class. I think he's probably the best offensive player in the entire class. He might just be the best player in the class. There's a couple defensive players that are interesting, but let's see here. What's about to fall? Awesome. I love getting Chase Brown here in the third. That feels very comfy with Jeremiah Love. You feel a lot better, obviously, about this running back room compared to our last running back room, but that is very nice start for us. We've gone JSN in the first, Jeremiah Love in the second, Chase Brown in the third. Chase Brown, we got at a bit of an ADP value. And you can see that, again, it's not only running back, but it's certainly heavy running back here to start, just across the board. We've got multiple teams that have multiple wide receivers so far, but a lot of them are double running back. The 4 hole has gone running back, quarterback, tight end. Took Colston Loveland very early, which I don't necessarily think is wrong. I think Loveland is excellent, but he probably wouldn't have fallen to 45, but I think I would have tried to see if he fell to 45 if I was that drafter. One of my big things so far this season is, as fun as it is to just take stands on players, it's so early. Like, I really don't want to be taking stands on players this early. So for the most part, there's a couple ADPs that we talked about Kyle Pitts, Jameson Williams at the third round is an absolute no for me, dog. Way too high. He's at best the second option, but is probably the third option in Detroit. He really didn't have any better of a season last year than he did the year before, despite supposedly being way more involved in the offense, but he put up basically the same numbers. But yeah, I'm curious to see who falls back to me here. We're in a somewhat similar situation where a lot of the values in wide receiver right now. We will see who goes off the board here. There's 2. I am eyeing both of those running backs. I'm going to get at least one of them. I will take Henderson. And that feels great. Feels lovely. We are very much bulked up at running back now. We're in a position where we can go to wide receiver, we can go to quarterback, we can go to running back again. There's not really a tight end here that I like too much. From an ADP standpoint, you've got Drake May. His ADP is 38. I think he's falling more into the range of where I would take him, around 53. I have Kyle Pitts ranked 85th. Just taking him at 41 feels absolutely wild to me. It's not something that I would do personally. I'm assuming ADP is going to write itself. Once the first update happens, I imagine Pitts will certainly fall back into the 60s, maybe even 70s if people really fade him, and then we'll continue to fall over the next couple of updates. And that's when I'll start taking him, when he's at a price that actually makes sense for him. For now, no thank you. We just had Michael Penix go in the 4th round, so that's fun. That was definitely a misclick or a star method. Probably had them in their queue just to think about it later and then couldn't decide while on the clock, so just accidentally took him. Have been there. That sucks. Really hope I get Cam Scattaboo here. I do. We know the wide receivers are fun, but if you remember, and if you look at my rankings, running back very much just kind of drops off a cliff. There's some guys, but there's not anyone that you're just like absolutely jonesing for. Wide receiver feels a lot better, and quarterback feels great as well, even tight end. So I feel very comfortable having this 4, maybe tacking on 1 to 2 guys late and just being completely done at running back. That feels comfortable to me, something that I'm totally fine doing. Let's see here. I think Lamar Jackson in the 5th is wrong, by the way. I think he's a 4th round pick. I think I have him ranked at 50, but I probably am going to move him up earlier if I can. The rookie wide receivers are going later in this draft. I think they went at the 4 or 5 turn in the last draft. So definitely interesting to see some guys fall. Got Justin Herbert also going in the 5th, but stacking with Lad McConkey and Hampton. So don't hate making a bet on the Chargers offense as a whole. I imagine he might at least grab QJ later. You can see this guy on the turn just going pure 0 RB, pure wide receiver, fun player, just true slappy for sure. A lot of wide receivers going here. Isn't my favorite needing wide receiver, but I really just couldn't pass on Scattaboo. Definitely wanted to lock up that position a lot better than we did the first time. And we saw that there's a lot of wide receiver value late that's not necessarily available at this point. Every team behind me has a quarterback, but that doesn't mean that they won't take a quarterback. Devonta Smith is there, which means do we take Daniels or Hurts? I'm going to take Jalen Waddle. I feel really good about Jalen Waddle. Yeah, I feel good about Jalen Waddle. If one of these quarterbacks or Tyler Warren comes back, I'll grab them, but I'm not going to cry or feel too awful if they don't. I think Jackson Dart is a perfectly good quarterback. I think Joe Burrow, even unstacked, is totally fine. You know, stacking this early, literally the first day of any 2026 drafts, is still ideal, but it's not required by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's not unheard of to let some of this kind of just pass people by. And if you want to call your shot on a quarterback, I think that's fine. Joe Burrow could be the guy you need in week 17. Even if you don't have Jamar Chase, you might have someone with a similar score. So I would love Jalen Hurts here, though, if he falls to me. I think he is wildly mispriced. ADP of 81. I have him ranked at 57. He is still a Konami code quarterback, and that Philly offense can't really have gotten worse than it was last year. It's almost certainly going to go up from here, which is the hope for sure. So the team so far: Jalen Hurts, Jeremiah Love, Chase Brown, Trevion Henderson, Cam Scattaboo, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jalen Waddle at wide receiver, and we do not have a tight end yet, which is totally fine. Feeling much better about this draft than the first one, to be honest. You have your elite wide receiver up here that will pretty much hit your lineup every single week. You have 4 running backs. Your hope is basically out of the 4 that 3 of them are hitting your lineup every single week, 2 running back spots and the flex. I feel pretty confident about that ability to do so as well. So that feels nice. And you have Jalen Waddle, who I think is mispriced. Yes, his quarterback situation is up in the air, but he is still just a talented wide receiver. And then Jalen Hurts, who I think is mispriced. Again, Konami code quarterbacks are the key to fantasy points. Basically, anyone who is a pocket passer has just as much chance of finishing as the quarterback 3 as he does the quarterback 23. So I basically just don't take pocket passer quarterbacks unless they are at a value or they are at a stack at ADP for me, because there's not really a good indicator of when they're going to be great, when they're going to be fine, and when they're going to be bad. That's my personal philosophy on the quarterback position. I don't think I'm right or wrong necessarily. That's just how I view it. If you think you are good at identifying the pocket quarterbacks, then more power to you. It's nice for this guy to get Burrow at 88 stacked with Higgins. I was considering him if he came back. I do have Chase Brown, so it's not like the weirdest stack in the world, but like the value there. Denzel Boston's kind of the unsung wide receiver first round pick. He's certainly a tier below Lemon, Tate, and Tyson in most people's models, including mine. I think he's fine. I think there's a lot of potential for failure, which does scare me, but there's also a lot of upside. I'm going to take Michael Pittman Jr. here. Again, some quarterback questions, but a good, solid wide receiver. And that's what I'm looking for sure. Obviously, Juwan Jennings, I'm playing ADP chicken with. If Sam Laporta comes back, I might consider it for a second team in a row. I would much rather have him than Kincaid, for example. I don't need to be taking any of these quarterbacks. I don't have their stacking partners. I don't need to reach on that. If I go to quarterback on this team, I'm totally fine with it. I think Tony Pollard is a solid one. I would consider him here in the 9th round, a full 20 picks past ADP if he gets to me. I don't know if I would be done at running back at that point, but I would certainly be very content at running back. Again, a lot of wide receiver value later. It just kind of keeps permeating throughout. You have pockets of running back value, and then it just all goes away. So definitely something to keep in mind. I don't think Khalil Shakir is a bad pick either, right at ADP. Again, you're just kind of hoping on safety. You're hoping whoever Buffalo hires offensively figures out how to actually use Josh Allen correctly. I think I am going to take Tony Pollard here, even though running back is the strength of my team. He's going to get a job somewhere, whether it's back in Tennessee, whether it's going to some other team to be the 1 or to be the 1B. He's still talented. I don't think he's anywhere near any type of athleticism cliff. Love Pollard that far past ADP for sure. So now our running back room is headed by a fun rookie, Jeremiah Love, but we've got Chase Brown, we've got second-year Trevion Henderson, we've got second-year Cam Scattaboo, and then we've got Tony Pollard as kind of the veteran in the room. I'm probably only taking one more running back on this team, but I feel totally fine about that. Let's see. Yeah, just a lot of pocket quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix is a good pick. Mahomes is certainly interesting because he's Mahomes. We just don't know what that injury is going to look like, what the recovery is going to look like. But there's optimism having Bieniemy back as the offensive coordinator. So I am in on Chiefs. I think Xavier Worthy is like a fine pick at his price. I love Rashee Rice at his price, assuming that he's not suspended. I think Travis Kelce is very good at his price. I'm interested to see who else is added if they retain Hollywood Brown for a third year in a row on a 1-year deal. He's a very late round guy that I think is just going to get a job somewhere as some type of value, but lots of interesting decisions to make so far. That guy who started 6 wide receivers out of the 12 hole has 3 running backs now. They are all 0 RB type of targets. Blake Corum, Bashal Tutin, Tyler Algier in the 10th. And he has Brock Purdy at quarterback position, unstacked so far. Alrighty. Jordan Addison goes. That's fine. I'm going to go Jawan Jennings pretty early, but that's okay. I think his price is just wrong. I think his ADP is going to come up quite a bit. Helps me feel a bit better, feel a bit more well-rounded on the wide receivers for sure. Top of ADP right now is the rookie Elijah Surratt. You've got Brenton Strange. You've got Jonah Coleman. You've got Dallas Goedert. I don't know if the Eagles are going to bring Dallas Goedert back. I'd be interested in taking him possibly, just to on the off chance that they do, see if I can stack him with Jalen Hurts. But I also don't think he's going to go somewhere and not get a job, you know? Like, I think he's almost certainly going to be the starter wherever he is. He will only go somewhere for starter money. So I think his ADP is pretty okay. I have him a few spots after just because there is the chance he doesn't go to Philly and he could go somewhere not great. But I think Goddard still has a couple years left in the tank. I think he still has value to provide. So I think I'm gonna go Goddard here. Just he's after ADP anyways. He's after my ranking of him, so feel good about that. We've now got, in theory, have Jalen Hurts stacked, which feels good. If he's not stacked, again, not the end of the world, but we've now entered the range where the guys that are going 0 RB are going to start, as we kind of did in the last draft, are just going to start feeling really gross about it and suddenly understanding how bad the landscape truly is. There's just a lot of question marks, like I do not want to be taking David Montgomery in the 11th. I don't want to be taking Kenneth Gainwell in the 11th. I don't hate taking some of these rookies up here, but I also don't think like they're guarantees to give you value back either. So it is definitely scary hours for running backs once you hit, I'd say, round 8. I mean, Pollard went 20 picks past ADP. I have him above a lot of the guys that went in the 9th. Like in the first 8 rounds, that's kind of it as far as like how you're feeling about the running back position. And there's a lot of these guys here, but their ADP is way lower, and I just have them ranked higher because I think their ADP is wrong. But yeah, it's not fun. in the running back streets. Some value here at tight end, some value at wide receiver, but not anyone that is truly jumping out at me. think I think I want to go Baker here just to get another quarterback that I feel comfortable with. Quarterbacks are kind of flying off the board right now, and there's definitely a cliff for me of after a certain point, the quarterbacks just stop being clickable because there's just so many question marks for them. So I think Baker in the 12th, totally fine. He had a rough year, absolutely. I don't think he's dead by any stretch of the imagination. He has a new offensive coordinator again for every single year of his career, but I think he could present a value. He's one of those pocket quarterbacks. He at least scrambles a bit. Like he's not a statue. He's not Matthew Stafford, but Tank Dell in the 12th. Woof. Tank Dell is on a pure gotta see it basis for me. Like if he ends up being good this year, then like great shout. Like props to you. Yeah, I figured he was going to take Concepcion there. That's fine. I kind of want to take Jalen McMillan because I have Baker. And again, he gives me like upside without being too much of a stretch, too much of a reach. There's a chance Mike Evans is just not a Buccaneer next year. It's unlikely, but there is a chance. He is a free agent. I think they're just going to use McMillan. I don't really know why, but I think they are going to do it. So, like that there. We're going to have some of these veteran running backs going off the board. That's fine. I'm very set at running back. I don't think I need a veteran. I'm okay with taking a veteran. Connor would have been the one that I preferred out of everyone for sure, but he is certainly not the only guy I'll look at. I think Trey Benson much later is just as good. It's just as viable. I really like Tyler Shuck this year. I was really hoping he fell to me, but he did not at 140. His ADP is in the 150s. I think he should be above all of these guys. I think he should pretty much be in like the Bo Nix range of things for sure. He runs a lot. He's athletic. He's definitely the starter. You know, it's a Kellen Moore offense. I love Tyler Shuck this year. I will be taking him a lot when I can. I may need to actually bump him in rankings a bit more in the future if I keep missing out on him, but he was my target for the second quarterback on this team, but of course did not have the option to draft him, so that is fine. No big deal here. And yeah, you can see that just like running backs it's not thin. Like again, we talked about, you know, if you look at my rankings, there's several guys that are like probably getting jobs, are probably worth drafting, all that good stuff, but it gets gross. It really does. So definitely something to think about for running back as you get into it. There's a lot of unknowns. And, you know, I don't think drafting some unknowns is bad. You know, you want to aim for variance. You want to aim for hitting players that are cheap but end up not being worth that price, being worth a lot more. But it also opens you up to a lot of zeros. So something to consider. Quarterback is kind of gross. I'm going to take Malik Willis. Feel good about being done at quarterback. Again, I know I'm going early on my 3 quarterbacks, but there's just, with 20 rounds, there's so many tight ends late that you just feel good about, and you just don't feel good about quarterback. You know, you've got Stroud, Mendoza, Darnold, McCarthy, and Jones left, and then it's just a bunch of question marks. Like, is Brissett the starter in Arizona? I don't know. I will draft him once I know that, but I don't know that right now. How much time is Penix missing? He went in the second in this draft for reasons unknown, but normally he's the 29th quarterback off the board. How much is Kirk Cousins going to play? How much is Penix going to play? Simpson seems to be a first round pick, but isn't necessarily going to play that much. How much does Shadur play? Do they put Deshaun Watson back in? Where does Tua land? Is he a starter? Does Aaron Rodgers come back? Does Marcus Mariota go somewhere to be a starter? Does Anthony Richardson get cut? Does Justin Fields go somewhere to be a starter? Does Geno get cut and go somewhere and be a starter? Do the Niners trade Mac Jones? There's just way too many question marks at the bottom of the quarterback board for me. So I don't want to be left holding the bag, so to speak, on the quarterback position. I would rather draft 3 of them relatively early, feel comfortable about where I'm at with them, and then, go from there. We're going to go back to my rankings. What do we do here? Calvin Ridley is the next by ADP. Not really interested in that. I think Troy Franklin is a good player. I think we'll go with him here. Or do I want? We'll go with Troy Franklin. I know the running backs are the best value, but again, running back was the strength of the team. I'm totally fine with the 5 I have and just tacking on one guy late. I think these 5 are going to all get work, all score points the majority of the season. Right now, we're just worried about the 3 wide receiver spots, really, and tight end. But I think it's still, I think 16 and 17 is where we start caring about tight end. Man, Jawan Johnson just keeps going earlier than I'm hoping for, unfortunately. Yeah. So I think in back-to-back drafts, the tight end run has just kind of started in the 15th. So that's something to definitely keep in mind for sure. Jonathan Brooks is going to be a popular click. I don't think he's a bad pick by any stretch. I touted him in our Discord as being someone who's worth looking at, especially in Dynasty. He might just be the starter for Carolina next year. Chuba Hubbard was very, very inefficient all season. Rico Dowdle's a free agent, probably not a fan of the fact that he got phased out of the offense by the end. So it's almost certainly going to be Brooks and Hubbard, and then if they keep ETN or if they bring in someone else as their third. Whether Brooks is still good or any good to this point is unknown, but right now his ADP is, I think, undrafted. So he will have an ADP for sure. He will climb the board to some extent. I think he's a fine pick. I would have probably considered him right around the 16-17 hole for this team, just as a 6th guy with a lot of upside to tack on. But yeah, that's an interesting name to keep an eye on for sure. Nothing too crazy in this draft. Looks like a lot of the folks that I have identified in certain positions are identified by everyone else as well. Who's left at tight end? We're back to the suckiness again. We sure are. Okay. I am going to take Trey Benson as my last running back. Again, I think he either has the job outright in Arizona or at worst is in a 1B rotation with James Conner again. His ADP should not be 240. So I will gladly take him there. I am fully done at running back. Don't need to have any running backs queued up. Don't need to have any quarterbacks queued up. We are looking purely at wide receiver and tight end to end this. I think Travis Kelce is my primary target here if he can get there. We will see if he gets there. a lot of 2 tight end and 3 tight end teams in front of me, so hopefully he does, but plenty of wide receivers that are still feeling good. Couple rookies, Purcell, Omar Cooper Jr. I would like some rookies on this team if I can help it. You know, only rookie right now is Jeremiah Love, who is the best rookie to have, but is certainly not the only rookie you want on a draft. You're aiming for upside, and rookies represent the best upside you can get. So I don't think a team of 6, 7, 8 of them is a good idea at all. I learned that the hard way a couple years ago, but I do think having 2 to 4 on every team is a good idea, especially in the big board when things are just very fluid and you don't really know who's going to get a job, what the draft capital is going to look like. You're just doing a lot of projections based off of mock drafts and all of that kind of stuff. So I definitely want a few rookies. Obviously, I have a couple here at the top of the queue. We'll see if they come back. Neither of them have an ADP. I would love to round out this room with all 3 of them, to be honest, with Purcell, Cooper, and then take Trey Harris. He's not a rookie, but he's effectively a rookie, barely played. I think Antonio Williams is fine as well. I definitely want some upside shots at the wide receiver position late. I feel relatively good about my wide receiver room. You have JSN, who's your star. You have Waddle, who's going to score points. You have Pittman, who's going to score points. You have Jennings, who's going to score points. You're hoping for more good things from McMillan and Franklin, but they're not live to be full on replaced regardless of what happens. Tampa's not adding more to this wide receiver room. Denver could, but they like Pat Bryant, they like Franklin, they like Mims. So I could easily see Denver just kind of running back this receiver room unless they can truly go out and get like an alpha receiver in their minds. But yeah, we are in the 18th round. We've got 3 rounds left. Trey Harris goes, but that's kind of to be expected. I will be taking Chris Purcell. I know he's a scary Tennessee go fast player, but I don't think he is truly like the other Tennessee go fast receivers we've had in the past. I think he's a much more complete receiver than Dante Thornton, a much more complete receiver than Jalen Hyatt was. He's just a big physical freak that was used in a weird offense, but I think he actually has like wide receiver talents that are translatable. So yeah, I like Purcell a lot. I'm hopeful he gets early day 2 capital. I don't think he's a first round pick. I don't think he falls past the 3rd either, unless he just something completely unexpected happens. I like Omar Cooper Jr. I wouldn't hate Jalen Noel either. I'm very high on Ryan Flanoy. If you look at what he did last season, he broke out, really. Like, it was just kind of under the radar because the Cowboys were just out of it by the time the breakout happened. But he scored fantasy points in games where CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were healthy, were playing the full offense snaps. Flournoy just scored sometimes still. Like, he was still earning targets. He was still getting open, still scoring touchdowns. So I do not hate at all going him. Tight end. I'm going to wait on tight end. I think I am going to go Ryan Flanoy as the last guy. I like Jalen Noel as well. I think people are going to be scared of him because of Tank Dell, but something that I had to remind myself of that's kind of interesting is that out of the four young wide receivers on the Texans now, including Tank Dell is the latest drafted in the actual NFL draft out of all of them. Both Higgins and Noel were taken earlier in their NFL drafts than Tank Dell was in his. So something to keep in mind. They're obviously not going to cut Tank Dell. CJ Stroud loves Tank Dell. Tank Dell could easily just be the two again, but it's not the most fun bet in the world for sure. I mean, he's coming off an absolutely catastrophic leg injury, having come back from a catastrophic leg injury before that. So definitely something to keep in mind, something to look out for. I just need a tight end. I'm definitely going 3 tight ends here. We don't think Travis Kelce's retiring, but there is slight chance that he's not. And because this is more running back heavy, more running back early, you want more flex possibilities from your tight end position to help with the looser wide receiver room as well. Lots of tight ends going. Hopefully I can get Fryermuth or Claire. If I don't, I honestly might go Chig. Whether he's in Tennessee or not, like he does at least score fantasy points the way that you would like a tight end to score fantasy points. He's can have a big play. He can be a red zone threat for sure. But it would not be ideal. I'm definitely hoping I get one of these two guys, preferably Claire, but there's at least one team in front of me that only has 2 tight ends that could easily take their third here. So we shall see. Goes Ty Simpson. So he only went 2 tight ends. That's what we did last time. So no judgment from me there. This guy should not take a tight end, but again, there's never saying never on this. Does not. Takes Kendra Miller. So we'll go Max Clare. I think he's a day 2 tight end. I think he's a much better IRL tight end than he will be a fantasy tight end, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he will be useless for fantasy either. I think he has talent. I think he could be better than we're thinking, being in a system that wasn't really designed around getting him the ball. So I like Max Clare. He will definitely be landing spot dependent for me in later season drafts, but right now I don't mind taking the upside shot on him. So as this second draft closes out, I'll go over the team. Again, feel really strong about quarterback. Got Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Malik Willis. At running back, Jeremiah Love, Chase Brown, Trevion Henderson, Cam Scattaboo, Tony Pollard, and Trey Benson. Nice congested but point heavy running back room, I guess is what I would say. There's a lot of upside, but a lot of floor as well. Wide receiver is a bit more where we punted. Got Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jalen Waddle, Michael Pittman Jr., Jawan Jennings, Jalen McMillan, Troy Franklin, Chris Purcell, and Ryan Flournoy. At tight end, we've got Dallas Goddard, Travis Kelce, and Max Clare, the rookie. So that is our second big board done. I think we'll do one more. Been going for about hour and 40 minutes so far. Still going strong. Still love drafting, so I'm happy to keep on trucking on this. So we will enter our third big board draft. Waiting on 5 people. Haven't really been able to keep up with the game at this point, so I'll be interested to check back in after this draft and see who won or who's winning or all that good stuff. But I just like drafting too much, to be honest. So, alrighty. I believe we are filled. Waiting for this draft to start. Let's see what position we pull. Alrighty. We got the 110. Got again some similar names from the last one, some new ones as well. 110 is an interesting spot. We've basically been drafting from the middle of the board. This will put us a lot closer on the turn, so a lot more decisions to make in a shorter amount of time, and a lot of waiting around and seeing what happens. So definitely interested to see how this goes. My initial hope is for Devon Achane or Christian McCaffrey or Amon-Ra. With the 11 ADP, it's possible that Amon-Ra is there at 10. I'd feel very good about that. Then you can kind of go whatever direction you want to go from there, but don't have a particular lean at this point. Just going to let it play out and see how things go. And once the first couple of rounds are done and we mostly play by ADP, then we'll start kind of thinking about how we want to construct the team and how we want to navigate some of these ranges of ADP. I also wouldn't hate elite tight end. I won't be taking McBride in the first. If he falls to me in the second, I'm not opposed to it, but there are still some picks that I like more than him. So we'll definitely see how things play out here. Again, thanks for tuning in, folks. If you have any questions, thoughts, anything to chat about, feel free to drop it in the comments. Happy to put it on screen, talk through it, read about it, all that good stuff. Would love to interact with y'all as you're watching. I appreciate you watching. So basically, the dream is happening here, and I'm going to get one of Amon-Ra or Achane. Possibly have the option of both. He goes Achane, and that's fine, because I will skip to the bank, taking Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have him ranked 8th. His ADP is 11. We are indeed so back. It is best ball season. I'm so excited for 2026 already. And I'm really enjoying taking advantage of some of these ADPs because there's some weird stuff going on for sure. Trey McBride goes. Drake London's there. Nico's there. I love Ashton Genty. I think he's a top 5 real life running back. I think he will bounce back in a huge way as long as the Raiders somewhat address their running back situation. So here's to hoping on that. Whether or not Mendoza is the answer at quarterback remains to be seen, but I think he will bring a new energy and a new vibe to the team at least. We still don't know who their coach is either. I kind of think that they're holding out for one of these coaches that's in the playoffs right now. Like, I think they might be hoping for Clint Kubiak. I believe he's the betting favorite to go to Vegas. I think they could be holding out for Chris Shula. Yeah, maybe even Vance Joseph. We'll see. But I think Genty is, like I said, a top 5 running back in real life. I think he did the best he could with one of the worst offensive lines in recent memory and one of the worst coaching situations in recent memory. I mean, it was just a retirement home of bad football dogma and bad football scheming. So I don't know. I don't see a way it could possibly get worse, is what I would say. And sure, we might be drafting him near his ceiling, but we also might not. His ceiling might be Bijan or Gibbs. Like, it's not likely, but it's certainly in the realm of possibility. Who I think are the best values currently? Based on ADP, there's certainly a few guys. We look at my rankings. The elite quarterbacks, Lamar is pretty okay. I have Jaden Daniels at 50. His ADP is at 75. I think that's wrong. Jalen Hurts, ADP of 81. I have him at 57. Like the Konami code quarterbacks either all got injured or had bad years, and we just kind of flushed them down the proverbial toilet. And I think that's wrong. Some of these other quarterbacks had great years, but they're not something that I would say is sticky year over year. So I'm just going to be right back in on taking Daniels, Hurts, even Joe Burrow, even though he's not Konami, but he is kind of like the one guy. I would love to get AJ Brown here. We'll see if that happens. If it doesn't happen, it does happen. Totally happy with that. Got both of the A. Browns. That's fun. Paired with Ashton Genty. Got a pretty quick turn here, so I will pay attention for a second, and then we can get back to talking about values. Would have taken Kyron if he was there. Who's there by ADP? Drake May. So, like, on the other side, I think Drake May is a little high for me by around a round. I'm going to be taking Ladd here for sure. Love the Chargers' offensive situation. But yeah, I think a lot of the quarterbacks are just in general mispriced. I love Drake May in real life. I think he is a great player in real life. I don't think he is the QB2 off the board in fantasy. He just doesn't score enough rushing touchdowns, rush for enough yards. He scrambles for sure, but he is not like, his second season versus Jaden Daniels' rookie season. I would take Jaden Daniels' rookie season 10 out of 10 times because it's repeatable and it's projectable, and there's not really a way to. The only way that he doesn't get those types of numbers for Daniels is if he gets injured, which is possible, but I don't draft projecting injury because we can't. We can certainly say someone might get injured, but everyone might get injured, Everyone was certain that Christian McCaffrey was going to get injured this year, and then he didn't. And if you didn't have him, you were just wrong. You lost. So I'm certainly not interested in projecting injury or fading injury, as is the case with Jaden Daniels, as is somewhat the case with Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts, yes, the situation was bad for sure, but I don't think it can get worse. Like, you would hope that they hire an offensive coordinator that's better than what they had. You would hope that they have a reckoning of what happened and kind of figure out, hey, we have the worst possible designed offense for the personnel that we have. Like, we can't do that again. So whether that will happen or not, can't say for certain. I don't know why this is not following the actual picks, but yeah. I sincerely doubt Colston Loveland falls all the way to me at 58. I will be smashing the button if he does, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. As far as other values, there's a lot of just mispriced receivers and running backs down the board from a veteran perspective. For example, keep scrolling. I think Jaden Reed is low at 108. I think Jordan Addison at 115 is late. I think Debo at 126 is late. Travis Hunter is a lottery ticket, but could be worth a lot. I think that's okay, but I would probably take him early. The big one for me is Jawan Jennings at 137. I think he's either back on the Niners and is the number one target or goes somewhere that pays him a lot of money to be a primary target. So I don't really know why he's cheap, to be honest. I think he's at worst a 2 somewhere, but at best could be a 1. But yeah, going back to quarterback, like Caleb's way too high for me. Herbert's way too high for me. There's just they're not pocket passers, but they are certainly. I'm actually going to take Mekhi Lemon here because I've been getting sniped on him and I want a share of that. So we're going to take him here. Someone I'll call out, Javonte Williams at 77, I think is a weird ADP. I have him ranked 55. It did. And I'm low on Justin Jefferson because of JJ McCarthy. I have him at rank 25 as the first pick in the 3rd round. Whether that's right or not, obviously time will tell. But to be honest, I am going to take Javonte here because I would love to get a second running back that I feel good about. The thing with Addison is that he just scores fantasy points in a way that is hard to replicate and is hard to get down the board. He's a number 2 that can outscore a number 1 in a particular season if things go his way. Like he's got 100 plus target potential. He's got 1,500 yard potential. Are you getting that with JJ McCarthy? Almost certainly not, but crazier things have happened. He's a good player. I like drafting good players, especially when they're cheap. So have him much higher ranked. I probably will take Addison closer to ADP just because I do like getting value like that. But I do for sure think that, Addison, Debo, Juwan Jennings, those types of guys, I just think they're priced incorrectly. And like on the flip side, you've got he might have already gone. Yeah, Alec Pierce in the 6. Like, no, thank you. I'm sorry. Just no, thank you. Maybe it works, but he has never been a target earner. He has never been an alpha. Whether he gets paid like one or not is kind of immaterial. Like, it doesn't matter. He's not one. He had a very similar season to this year to what he did last year with Anthony Richardson. Like, he really didn't improve and play all that much. We're just feeling better about the Colts this year than we felt about them last year. And that's fine. Like, there's value to that, but I don't think that's necessarily worth taking him in the 6th round for. I mean, I would rather have Michael Pittman Jr. on the Colts if Pierce is a Colt. I don't think he will be, but it's not impossible that he comes back. Some of these pricings are just really weird, and I'm not going to say they're wrong. We don't know. Like, we're on day 1 of 2026. 2025 is still actively happening as we are drafting this. Like, I won't say they're wrong at all, but I will say they're weird for sure. It's a weird spot to put them in. I don't think Mike Evans falls all the way back to me. Again, I will smash the button if he does, but okay, he does. Well, sure. Mike Evans in the back end of the 7th round feels totally fine by me. I think you're right. Like, I think the betting favorite is everyone's just like, he's going to Buffalo, which, sure, but I just don't know if I care, to be honest. I really don't know if I care. Is there anyone interesting here? Not overly. I'll take Denzel Boston. So, team so far: Ashton Genty and Javonte Williams at running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Lad McConkey, Makai Lemon, Mike Evans, and Denzel Boston at wide receiver. Feel very good about wide receiver. I think could pretty conceivably stop after one, maybe two more at most. Definitely two more at most, but loving this start for sure. I did kind of get boxed out of my favorite range of quarterback, but I'm not going to panic about that. Again, I haven't really pulled the button on elite tight end yet either. This was the first draft where I would have considered it, but yeah, I'm not too pressed. You can take a look here at the board in general, see if anything interesting is going on. I don't know what to do with Quinshon Judkins. Obviously, you have offense concerns and team concerns about the Browns in general, but also like I feel like we really didn't get very good reporting on like how catastrophic that knee injury was and like how long the recovery period for him will be. I think picking him here is fine. I'm just kind of wary of it. I don't really know what his recovery timeline is going to look like. So we will see on Judkins. Don't think he's a bad pick by any stretch. I'm very confused why Mike Evans fell all the way to me at 82. I think his ADP was 65. So I'm not complaining. I think he is absolutely worth a pick in the 60s, and I think he's definitely worth a pick in the 80s. I'm not seeing anything crazy in this one. We've had some wacky stuff in the first two drafts, but this draft is pretty okay, pretty normal. Jadarian Price, he's going to be very interesting. He is my RB2, but I think he is, despite being the second most talented, I think he's very landing spot dependent. I don't know if he has the complete skill set to be able to just displace any type of real competition. So he's going to be one where if I get him at a value, I'll take him, but I kind of want to see where he lands before I click the button at 95, which I think is his exact ADP. I have him ranked higher than that, but it's also because running back is just really gross. If you look at ADP, so we've got some quarterbacks, and it's like Rico, another rookie in Coleman, like Woody Marks, no thank you. Lots of interesting stuff. So we're on the clock. I think I will take Rico on this one. I only have two running backs. Again, we saw in the first draft, running back absolutely falls off a cliff to some point. Don't want to be left holding the bag. And, you know, there's a lot of wide receivers here at the top, but I don't think I have to necessarily reach for them. I don't think I would hate. Okay, Bo Nix goes. I don't love Strange at that spot. I think I'm going to go Jaden Reed. Again, I pointed him out as someone who I thought was mispriced. Yeah, late RB is, it feels brutal. It probably won't end up being brutal when all the chips are down, but right now we just don't know where any of these guys are going. You don't really have a lot of rookies. Like, it's a much weaker running back class at the rookie position. So, you know, we could be taking guys in the early hundreds that are just bench warmers, and we could be taking guys in the 180s or 200s that earn a starting job, which is true in every season, but it just feels like extra relevant this season for sure. Yeah, I went 0 RB in our first draft. It did not feel good. The wide receivers obviously felt absolutely amazing, but when your first running back is RJ Harvey and your second one is a rookie and your third one's James Conner, like it feels gross for sure. We will see how this plays out. I have a very specific target that I'm looking at taking at 130 that I'm hoping falls back to me. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not. What else? Yeah, like Kenneth Gainwell is like fine. You feel fine with him as like your fifth or sixth running back, but having to take him in like the 10th round, just disgusting, to be honest with you. I don't feel good about that. I don't feel comfortable about that. And it's not really something I'm aiming to do. He was pretty much only valuable because Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he was as good as his production would say. So we shall see on that. Yeah, this has been kind of an average draft so far. No one really crazy, no one really bad. Just a lot of normal picks. George Kittle is definitely someone that I am not targeting at all. Tearing your Achilles in the playoffs, I would not be shocked if he didn't play a snap in 2026, or if he did, it would be like so wildly late. So, in that perspective, I'm definitely avoiding Kittle, certainly at that cost. Let's see here. It sucks that there's so much wide receiver value on the board because I really don't need wide receiver, to be honest with you. Like, I'm probably only taking one more. Tyler Shuck, I will happily be taking here. I have him ranked at 101. His ADP is 156. I think he is just a good fantasy starter all season. I really do. He runs. Kellen Moore always uses his quarterbacks very well. And, I don't really see a reason why Shuck is ranked so low. As much as I like Concepcion, I'm going to let him go. I will take Emmett Johnson again, if it lets me. There we go. We want some youth in this running back room. We want some shots at upside. There's a big pocket of veterans later that I think are all worth taking in the next few rounds that I'd be happy with just about any of them with. So far we've got Tyler Shuck at quarterback, Ashton Genty, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, and rookie Emmett Johnson at running back. Wide receiver feel really strong. Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Lad McConkey, rookie Mekhi Lemon, Mike Evans, 17 picks past ADP, Denzel Boston, another rookie, 11 picks past ADP, and then Jaden Reed. That's our seventh. We still have 0 tight ends. Something to keep in mind. There is absolutely a cliff in these drafts where people stop having names that they like clicking and they just start clicking tight end. So there's been a lot of tight ends that go off the board already, but we're going to see what type of value falls back to us. Obviously, with Tyler Shuck, would love Juwan Johnson. His ADP is definitely wrong. It's somewhere in the 180s. I would take him with either of my next 2 picks, I think. I think he will just be the 2 in New Orleans unless they draft someone high. I don't know if they will draft someone high, but even if they do, we know that Kellen Moore uses tight ends in this offense. We know that Juwan Johnson is good. We know that he has a rapport with Tyler Shuck. And Taysom Hill probably mercifully is gone at last. Maybe not, but he should be. He should retire. I think he, unfortunately, that last ACL tear just kind of ended it for him, but we'll see how that goes. But I feel great about Jawan Johnson if I can get him with one of these two picks. Might go double tight end, just depending on who's on the board and who's available. I also need to keep quarterback in mind. There's certainly a cliff with that as well, where you just stop feeling great about quarterbacks. So James Conner goes. He was someone that I would have considered here as my fifth running back, but I'm not too torn up about it. There's so many folks that are just out on Kyler Murray, but I think he's fine. I really do. I think he's not a Cardinal and runs. That's pretty much the only way that he is valuable as an NFL quarterback is running the ball. I don't think he goes back to like prime Kyler Murray, but I also don't think he does what he did last year and just like does nothing. Man, Casey Concepcion still here is very nice. Do I get greedy? What's tight end look like? No. I'm going to take my medicine and take Jawan Johnson. I don't have a single tight end yet, and it would be kind of gross to have to go through an entire another turn with still not having a tight end. Do I think Tua starts somewhere? I think he should. I think the way that I have it paired out is there's about 25 to 26 spots that are pretty much accounted for at the quarterback position. And that leaves about 6 to 7 landing spots for some of these on the out quarterbacks. I think Kyler goes somewhere and fills one. I think Tua should go somewhere and fill one. It will all depend on money and who wants to give up anything for him and all that. But I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. Like, to be honest, I still don't think that Miami was the most, like, the best spot for him, even though we do like Mike McDaniel as a play caller. Like, their offensive line was still bad. It wasn't as bad as 2024, but 2025, he was still under pressure a lot. Like, they didn't have the best setup for his skill set, really. And there's a chance that he could go somewhere else and be totally fine. I don't think he's ever like a good quarterback by any stretch. I don't think he's a top half quarterback, but I also don't think that he's terrible. I would much rather have him over, I mean, let's look. JJ McCarthy, over Michael Penix, over Brissett, over Cousins, basically over anyone in this range. I think I would put him similar to like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, to be honest. At least as far as a talent ceiling versus floor. But I think he's honestly very similar to CJ Stroud. I think we were all just kind of like hyped to start with, and certain ways that they ran offense made things look good. And then when those things fell apart, the quarterbacks just kind of fell apart. So yeah, I think it's definitely tough. He should get a job somewhere. I know the money is going to be a problem for them, but at the end of the day, they're just going teams will pay for a quarterback. They really will. Speaking of quarterback, we are having a huge run of quarterbacks here and tight end to some extent. This is the floor right here, right around the 15th round, 14th round. We're looking at it. It's a lot of blue, a lot of purple. So if you need one, get in line. The question is, man, tight end just rides up. Ah, I would have loved Malik Willis there. That sucks. Um, Concepcion's still there. I'm just gonna take him. Like, this is way too late. I was considering him 5 rounds ago, so he's for sure my last wide receiver. Don't need anything else. Feel excellent about that room, even though it is 3 rookies. Still have 5 good producers outside of that that should get you points. Running back, still work in progress, but at least at the top, it feels okay. Am I just going to take Travis Kelce again? I think I am. Again, I don't think Kelsey's retiring. If he does, then so be it. But I'm pretty sure he wants to come back. Kansas City's kind of operating like he's coming back. You know, Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator, and that feels a lot better than Matt Nagy. So I don't think he's going to be the tight end. What, he finished 2 or 3 last year, but I also don't think that he's, what tight end was that? 20 something off the board in the 18th, 16th round. Like, I think there's certainly a happy medium that you kind of need to aim for with him. I think he's only this cheap right now because of the retirement fear. And I think that's a price that I'm willing to be left holding the bag with if I need to. Tight end is the least impactful position in best ball in general, unless you draft the guy. Last year, the guy was Trey McBride, so it didn't really matter what you did for late tight end. The answer was no one. But obviously, you had the year before with Jonnu Smith, some other players late that just really helped you out. You'll never know year over year. That's why we draft. That's why we play the game, to see how things will pan out. And this has been a really weird draft for wide receiver. Like, we went early on it and it felt good, but like a lot of the value is still there, and I'm confused about that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of teams are just going really heavy running back late, despite a lot of them being, I guess no one's like super over their skis on running back at this point. Still have some targets for sure. We'll see who falls back to us here at 202. Would consider a third quarterback. All of my targets are well off the board at this point as far as guys I feel good about. But if there's a quarterback that makes sense, I'm okay pulling that trigger. Yeah. Like, I think Michael Penix is interesting. He goes, so it doesn't matter. What does Superfly guy do? Okay. I will, for the third consecutive draft, be taking Trey Benson. There's no reason for him to be ADP of 240. He is either the starter or he is the 1B for James Conner. He just had a bad injury luck season. He did not, it was not really his fault. Tight end is still just absolutely flowing off that board. I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks. I said that this was the range that I feel okay doing so. Could just be the starter in Carolina. I sincerely doubt that Rico Dowdle is back. I, in fact, on this team am betting on it. But yeah, I don't think that Rico comes back to Carolina. I think he was pretty annoyed that they used Chuba Hubbard over him to end the season. And frankly, Chuba was wildly inefficient this season. He really did not look that good at all. He has an out in his contract as well if they want to do so. I don't think they will, but they can. And it will save, they won't really count that much against the cap for them. Um, but yeah, feeling good about this team overall. I think this is probably the most balanced team that I've drafted. Have two quarterbacks so far, Tyler Shuck and Kyler Murray. At running back, we've got Ashton Genty, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, Emmett Johnson, Trey Benson, and Jonathan Brooks. At wide receiver, feel very strong. Am totally done at wide receiver. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Lad McConkey, Makai Lemon, Mike Evans, Denzel Boston, Jaden Reed, and a very, very late Casey Concepcion. I would have probably taken him in like the 120s if he was available, and I was weak on wide receiver, but I let him fall a good ways, and he just continued to fall. So, tight end, right now we've got Juwan Johnson and Travis Kelce. Definitely want a third tight end no matter what. Third quarterback, I'm a bit more open to not doing. I wouldn't love it, but I'm open to it. And then the question is, are there any running backs that we want to take instead? There's one in particular that I have my eyes on. We will see if he is still there when we get to my pick at the 1910. But yeah, as we mentioned earlier, the running back room down here is absolutely abysmal. We're looking at, I took Jonathan Brooks, we took Caleb Johnson, Isaiah Davis, Najee Harris off an Achilles, like Ray Davis. There are some unfun clicks to be had down here. Feels a lot better to click some wide receivers, but also there's so much wide receiver value in the middle of drafts that we find ourselves not really needing wide receiver by the time we get here. So definitely something to think about and navigate as you continue with drafts. You're one pick away. Will I get sniped? Maybe. Okay. I think Devin Neal is an excellent click down here. Whether Kamara retires or not is up in the air. What happens with Kamara is up in the air. I think Devin Neal will at least get the first crack at being involved, even if Kamara doesn't retire and is still on the team. Kendra Miller was not picked by this coaching staff and GM. I'm going to go Gunnar Helm on this one and hope that Chig goes somewhere else. So, final roster, have a 2-7-8-3 build. Didn't get a third quarterback, but that is okay. We have Tyler Shuck and Kyler Murray at quarterback. I think both of them are just going to be solid to good fantasy assets all year, so I don't hate that. At running back, have Ashton Genty, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, Emmett Johnson, Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks, and Devin Neal. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Lad McConkey, Makai Lemon, Mike Evans, Denzel Boston, Jaden Reed, Casey Concepcion, and at tight end, have a stitched together room of Juwan Johnson, Travis Kelce, and Gunnar Helm. But I think that is going to do it for us today, folks. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. Really appreciate y'all commenting, chatting, 2026 is here. Appreciate it. I think that was my favorite draft of the three for sure. Kind of went 0 RB to start and then a robust RB in the second one. And this one was just kind of like a nice balance for sure. But definitely appreciate you hopping in, commenting. That's going to do it for me today, folks. Follow along Fantasy Now Plus for our content. We have a lot more best ball drafts coming all summer long. I will be streaming quite a bit, so keep your eyes out for that. We will be drafting, enjoying everything that Underdog has to offer us, and possibly other sites as well. We'll see. But for now, this is Tim from Fantasy Now Plus. I will catch you guys on the flip side.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.